Councillors, can I have your attention, please? I welcome you all to this meeting of the Cardinia Shire Council. This meeting started earlier in the day to consider confidential matters, and I now reconvene the meeting. It is pleasing to see that we're now able to meet in person with a public gallery, so I thank the entire massive gallery for coming down and joining us today. Thank you. We will commence the meeting with the following reflection. I would ask those gathered to join us now for a few moments of silence as we reflect on our role in this chamber. Please use this opportunity for reflection, prayer or thought to focus on our shared intention to work respectfully together for the well-being of our whole community. In addition, I note the anniversary of the passing of former Councillor Ray Brown was yesterday. As we reflect on our roles, we may also wish to remember Ray and his contribution to this council. Thank you. I would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the lands of Cardinia Shire, the Boonwurrung and Wurundjeri people, and pay my respects to their elders, both past and present. We have two apologies for this evening from Councillor Carol Ryan and from Councillor Tammy Radford. And I note there's no other apologies unless anyone would like to present something now. Thank you, councillors. Minutes of the previous meeting. Can I have a motion, please, to adopt the minutes of the previous meeting as listed? Moved by Councillor Davies and seconded by Councillor Moore. All those in favour, please raise your hands. I declare that carried. Thank you. Declarations of interests. Councillors, do we have any declarations of interests for tonight's proceedings? There being none, I will continue under ordinary business. The Council conducts this meeting according to a consent agenda. Councillors have advised of the matters for consideration this evening that they wish to discuss or debate. The remaining items will be adopted without discussion. The items withdrawn for tonight's proceedings are as follows. Item 6.2.1, appointment of community asset committees for recreation reserves, withdrawn by Councillor Davies. Councillor Davies.
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight I move that Council, as per the officer recommendations, appoint the persons listed within the report to the respective Recreation Reserve Community Asset Committees, and secondly, thanks all committee members for their valuable contribution to the management of community recreation reserves. Thank you.
May I have a seconder, please? Councillor Moore. Councillor Davis, I'll now go back to you to speak to this item first.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Moore, for seconding the motion. There are 25 recreation reserves within Cardinia Shire, and 12 of these are managed by Council under Council-appointed Community Asset Committees. Members of Reserve Community Asset Committees are elected annually at a public meeting conducted by councillors or council officers in a democratic election process, or members are volunteers. Upon election, these memberships also require formal appointment via council resolution. And this is in accordance with the Local Government Act 2020. So then when that act came in, it did bring upon us a lot of changes. So tonight, Council, I am seeking your vote for the formal appointment of the following members, these being Cardinia Recreation Reserve, President Chris Beard, Vice President Bill Orr, Secretary Liz Burr-Maguire, Treasurer John Adlam, Committee members Rudy De Jong, David Young, Luke Turner and Bradley Welsh. And at Chandler Reserve, Co-President Rod Smith and Co-President Mark Petter, Secretary Jeff McKimmie, Treasurer Judy Strong, and committee members Steve Livermore and Brad Bishop. At the Lang Lang Community Recreation Reserve, President Dave McLean, Secretary Laura Healy, Treasurer Jeff Pickering, committee members Wendy Tom, Sam Lowridge, Max Papley, Andrew Boleyn, Keith Helden, Joe Giacco, Stuart Casey and Carolyn Wainwright. And finally, at Worrell Reserve, President Chris Strong, Secretary Howard Winter, Treasurer Neil Burns and committee members Chris Beardshaw, Gary Campbell, Jamie Grace and Claude Colino. As part of this motion and hopefully eventual endorsement, I do wish to, on behalf of Cardinia Shire Council, express our thanks to all committee members for their hard work and service to the community through the management of these recreation reserves. Volunteers play a huge role across our Shire and their work is acknowledged and appreciated. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Davies. I'll now go to the seconder, Councillor Moore, to speak to this item.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Davies, for withdrawing this item. It's a very important item. We should acknowledge our volunteers who look after our fantastic rec reserves and support through the asset communities and the voluntary sister council. They do. I note on those lists a lot of these members are long-going. They've been on these committees for so long. I know a lot of these names go back a long way, and I congratulate them for their continued support for our community. And I go all the way with this, and I vote for this fully. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Would any other councillors like to speak to this item? I'll just note for myself, I'd like to reiterate what Councillor Moore just said and really pass on our thanks and gratitude to all the volunteers that are put their time and effort into helping run these committees, because it takes a lot of effort and it comes with little reward sometimes, besides knowing the fact that if they weren't the ones putting up the responsibility of doing this, then it may just fall apart, and it benefits the community. So I hope the community knows as a whole, you know, the amount of effort that does go into being a president or a secretary or a treasurer of a reserve committee that's looking after multiple users, services the community so well. So these people should be noted highly. And as Councillor Moore pointed out, a lot of these people have been doing this for a long time. So we are really indebted and share our gratitude for them. Thank you, Councillor Moore. I will now go back to Councillor Davies to summarise this item. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Moore, for your words of support. I acknowledge Councillor Moore's feedback about the length of time some have supported our community with this volunteering, and I do echo the Mayor's words of gratitude and support and the magnitude of the work, the comprehensive service and support of the community that's being provided. Volunteers, thank you. And I confirm, councillors, tonight I move the council officers' recommendations as per the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Davies. We'll now put this to a vote. All councillors in favour, please raise your hands. I declare the item carried. Thank you. Next item is item 6.2.2, Sealing the Hills, Burton Road, Morris Road and Young Street, Upper Beaconsfield. Withdrawn by Councillor Owen. Councillor Owen to move.
Thanks, Mayor. I move the officers' recommendations as listed in the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Kowaczyk. I'll now go back to the mover, Councillor Owen, to speak to this item first.
Thanks, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Kowaczyk. As councillors, as in the agenda, there's a number of recommendations in the report. I won't read every single one, but I just wanted to provide a summary. This report proposes to have a special charge declared to be fund the construction of Burton Road, Morris Road and Young Street in Upper Beaconsfield. It follows Council's resolution on the 13th of December 2021 to communicate its intention to declare a special charge for this purpose. Property owner contributions have been assessed on the basis of the benefit gained by each existing developed or vacant allotment, capped by Council at $7,000 per benefit unit. Council special rates and charges policy provides for levies to be paid in quarterly instalments that include principal and interest. For the Sealing the Hills program, it has been decided that a maximum 7 payment period be adopted. The financial hardship provision of this policy provide further relief to those owners demonstrating genuine financial hardship. So a survey of property owners within the scheme boundary, there was a total of 54 was undertaken, asking if they would support the contribution to a special charge scheme at a capped contribution rate of $7,000 per benefit unit. Of the 54 properties surveyed, Council received 36 responses, or 65%. 31, that being 85% of these responses indicated support to contributing to the scheme, while 15% indicated opposition. Following consideration of the survey responses, a special charge scheme has been prepared to part fund the construction of Burton Road, Morris Road and Young Street, Upper Beaconsfield. Following Council's resolution on the 13th of December 2021, affected property owners were notified of the intention to declare a special charge. 3 property owner submissions were received within the prescribed 28-day period. Since preparing the preliminary construction plans, it has been confirmed that the portion of Burton Road that extends onto 37 Burton and 103 Beaconsfield Emerald Road to provide access to 41 Burton Road is actually a private carriageway easement specific for this purpose, and council is not a beneficiary over this easement. So there's been some changes. There were 3 submissions made to council from the landowners 37 and 41 Burton Road and 103 Beaconsfield Emerald Road that were reviewed by the appointed committee of council, including councillors, 2 councillors and officers. All 3 submissions expressed the concern of undertaking the proposed road construction on private land and associated public risk issues. One of the landowners objected to the construction on their land, while the other 2 owners indicated support in some form but wanted to be compensated for any land used for the construction. So it has been recommended that these 3 properties be removed from the scheme and that the appropriate steps be undertaken to remove the driveway construction within the carriageway easement. So that's some changes. But I'm really pleased that it got overwhelming majority support of residents in this catchment. Very important. There's benefits to the Upper Beaconsfield Rec Reserve. There's particularly benefit to Young Street. I was at a community meeting recently where there was residents from Young Street that overwhelmingly supported this scheme. Young Street is quite unique to Upper Beaconsfield. It's quite small allotments, and houses are right on the right near the carriageway. So there's a lot of dust and amenity issues. And this resident was just so looking forward to this road being sealed because it was going to provide much better health experiences for their family and just amenity in general. There was some concerns regarding some horse riders in the area, and I was really pleased that we directly engaged with the Upper Beaconsfield the Pony Club and also the Adult Riders Club, because it was really important that we worked with the riding clubs to make sure that the sealed surface wouldn't interfere with their operations and obviously riders, etc. But we addressed their concerns, and it was great to get their feedback. So I fully support this scheme. Thanks to the federal government for their ongoing funds in sealing the hills. So the $1.8 million will be obviously council's contribution, but it is the federal money, so that's really great. So I fully support this scheme being declared and the road built. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Owen. I'll now go to the seconder, Councillor Kowalczyk, to speak to this item.
Thanks, Mayor Springfield, and I think Councillor Owen has, generally speaking, well covered this item. I also note that this has been generally well supported, but also wanted to pay mention to the objectors and thank them for their submissions. I do think it's important, though, that we get behind this program, given how long running it's been and still has a number of projects to come, but also just for the important infrastructure it will leave for generations to come. I mean, this will fundamentally change Cardinia Shire throughout the hills, and we note that it's been going on for some time. So I think it's really important, and it's certainly hard sometimes for the objectors to get a grasp of that. From a council perspective, we know how important it'll be to seal these roads. So I'll leave it there. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Kowalczyk. Would any other councillors like to speak to this item? There being none, I'll go back to the mover, Councillor Owen, to summarise.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Kowalczyk. And I just remember many years ago when I became a Rangers Ward councillor, I did attend Burton Road because of the complaints from residents regarding the condition, the corrugation, and also severe drainage issues, particularly around that hairpin bend as you go through Burton Road to turn left. Massive drainage concern. So the construction of this sealed road will address those concerns as well. So just in conclusion, that council proceed to declare a special charge over the properties listed in the attachment 4 to part fund the construction of Burton Road, Morris Road and Young Street, Upper Beaconsfield, including a sealed road pavement, curb and channel and associated drainage and auxiliary works generally in accordance with the concept plans included in the attachment 3. And I also just want to thank our officers, our engineers. It is a massive piece of work to get these special charge schemes up, so I acknowledge that work. So thank you. I move so.
Thank you, Councillor Owen. We will now put this to a vote, councillors. All those in favour, please raise your hands. I declare the item carried. Thank you. Next up, we have item 6.2.5, response to petition regarding the Garfield Township strategy, withdrawn by Councillor Moore. Councillor Moore to move.
Thank you, Mayor. I move the recommendation is that note the petition received from the Garfield Action Group. Note that funding for the review of the Garfield Township strategy will be considered by Council in the preparation of the 22-23 budget. Note that the development of the Garfield Township strategy will require and include community engagement. All feedback will be considered by Council prior to the finalisation of the strategy. Notes that the 2 planning applications referred to in the submission will be assessed in accordance with the planning scheme under the current legislative controls. And I want to thank the head petitioner for submitting the petition and request council officers write to the head petitioner informing them of the council's resolution. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Cameron. I'll now go back to the mover, Councillor Moore, to speak to this item.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Cameron, for the second. I appreciate it. I was really excited to receive this petition and table it at the council table. This petition reinforces my own thoughts and request for an update into this strategic plan of Garfield. It's been around for a long time, and I want to thank the 92 signatories that are attached to this petition. I'm going to reinforce why this needs to be revised. I'm going on the figures of the population changes that have happened within the Garfield region. When the original strategy was adopted by Council in August 2002. Now 2002 is 20 years ago, if my mathematics are right. 20 years ago. Things have changed in Garfield a lot. The total demographics today is totally different from 20 years ago. The population of Garfield was around about 800 people 20 years ago. In 2016, it increased to 1,786, I note. And in 2022, the population is nearly 2,500. So it highlights a need for a review. There's no doubt about that. This shows you, by the numbers I've got here, how it needs to be changed. Now, back in around about the 2011 times, we had a community meeting that was to revise the Garfield strategy. In the public hall of Garfield, it was packed. You couldn't move there, and it was fantastic to see the input and the input from the community there was fantastic. With the butcher's paper, the notes on the walls, the whole routine was really a fantastic day out. But what happened is, it showed there was not really nothing new. There was nothing came out of that meeting that needed to be adjusted to the strategic plan. So it went on as it was. Because it's a very expensive exercise to do a full strategic plan of a township like this, and so it's got to be recognised that you need change. But this also is highlighted by the Garfield Action Group, and I want to thank them for what they've done here to highlight these issues. Particularly with the petition refers to 2 current planning applications in Garfield. One at the 4143 Narnagoon Longwarry Road and at 50 Railway Avenue, and states these 2 applications highlighted a lack of consideration of planning in Garfield. So even if we consider, as council staff and councillors, that the strategic plan is really just a guide. It's an indication. But that when you have planning applications like this coming at you all the time in a township like Garfield, you need to have something to back them up and to give the community there some surety that we're following the right plan of course for these applications, and I congratulate the action group for doing this in this way. So I'm all supportive of this. Of course, it is a budgetary item, but I'll leave it there, Mayor, at the moment until I'll come back at the summary, and I'll leave it to my seconder if my seconder would like to speak. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. I'll now go to Councillor Cameron, if she would like to speak to this.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Moore. Garfield is a very strong, united little community and is growing every day. It's the business group there, really strong and united, and run a lot of functions where they invite every business to go and be participants. Things like progressive suppers and all of that sort of thing. And it's just a fantastic little group. So I think this will be fantastic for Garfield to get a new strategy going and let them know that they're not being forgotten. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Would any other councillors like to speak to this item? And I note Councillor Kowalczyk.
Thanks, Mayor Springfield. Thanks, Councillor Moore, for withdrawing this item tonight. I'm supportive of this motion. Garfield's a pretty unique township within Cardinia, and those of us who have been there, we know it well. And although a small town, as you mentioned, it has experienced recent sustained pretty significant growth. One of the key considerations of the petition that I really loved to see was the desire to have impact on development and on the development and planning items within the town. And the reason I love to say that is because I think it's really important that locals are interested in and invested in the future of their towns. And for me, that's a reasonable request. So I'll be supporting that tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kowalczyk. Would any other councillors like to speak to this item? I might just quickly add myself that I also am supportive of this, Councillor Moore, and I also agree. I think Garfield is a fantastic little town, one of the gems that we have here in Cardinia, and I had the pleasure of going there last Friday. I went to Garfield North to it was for a news article piece for the new community centre that's out there. So I decided to stop off afterwards for lunch. I went to the Garfield Bakehouse, and it was fabulous. It was such a unique little town they have there. It's a real gem. But I'm very supportive of this motion, and on that note, I'll hand it back to Councillor Moore to summarise. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Cameron, Kowalczyk and Mayor, for your positive comments. I really appreciate it, really, because you have to understand that Garfield, is unique as it is, and also it has a major railway station in Garfield, which attracts development, and it may not always be pleasing for the local community for those type of developments to be around there. But of course, when you have a major railway station, it changes the zoning arrangement around that station. So it's pretty unique, but of course it is quite a not dangerous, but it's a place where anything could happen there, and that's why this plan needs to be upgraded from 2002. I ask you. That's a long time to go back when planning would be there, so that's why I respect this. But undertaking a review at the Garfield Township strategy would require preparation of several background reports, including but not limited to the bushfire risk assessment, which we never really had before until back in those 2002 days. The traffic and transport assessment's got a major road that drives through the middle of the shopping centre. Economic analysts and the infrastructure review. This information will be used to develop the strategy, and community consultation, which is very important to me and very important in these strategies, I think everywhere, will be undertaken at the key stages during the development. This process would require a budget of approximately $100,000. $100,000, as I said before, these things don't come cheap, but worthwhile. For the background studies, the strategy development would be a process anticipated to take approximately 1 to 3 years to complete. So it's not the sort of thing we will just be able to snap our fingers and all of a sudden it's there. So, and then of course at the final strategy would be subject to approval by the Minister of Planning. So it has a lot of stages to go through. So that's why I've actually put into the budget, or requested into the budget, that we put some funding aside to update this Garfield strategy, and I really want to see this go through if I can have the support of my fellow councillors, because it is very important to this, particularly to the action group, but I think for the right over the whole of the Garfield area, it's very important. So the timing of the review, the Garfield Township strategy will be considered during the development of the draft council budget for the 22-23. So I'm looking forward to support from my fellow councillors for this very important document to go through, and to support this local community, including the Garfield Action Group. But thank you, Mayor. I'd like to have support from my fellow councillors. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Councillors, we'll now put this to a vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. I declare the item carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving along to item 6.2.6, Pakenham LXRP Community Asset Upgrades, withdrawn by Councillor Kowalczyk. Councillor Kowalczyk to move.
Thank you, Mayor Springfield. I move the following. The Council delegates the CEO, on behalf of Council, to negotiate and approve the scope of improved community assets that form part of the level crossing removal project with the LXRP Project Authority. Notes the principles for the improved community assets that will inform the negotiations, including value for money, a need in the community, consistent with feedback from community about the project and open space in Cardinia, consistent with existing and future aspirations of the Pakenham Major Activity Centre, other council policies, strategies and council's vision for the project, and finally, will not present an extraordinary maintenance burden into the future. I move so.
Thank you, Councillor Kowalczyk. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Moore. I'll now go back to the mover, Councillor Kowalczyk, to speak to this item first.
Thank you, Mayor Springfield. Thank you, Councillor Moore, for your second. This motion, in line with officers' recommendations, just simply gives the CEO the ability to negotiate and approve the assets and infrastructure that will make up what will finally be under the elevated rail line, which will stretch from McGregor Road through to Racecourse Road. The expectations for the upgrades occurring beneath the rail are to balance the provision of new and improved facilities and spaces for the community, whilst ensuring these areas are functional and maintainable into the future. Now, other than improving safety and traffic outcomes via the elevated rail, it also means that we are provided with a great opportunity underneath for community space, and it's something that can be hard to find within towns, within CBDs of towns. So, that can take on a lot of different forms. At the moment, we're looking at improved connectivity via some pathways and some new recreational facilities that will take into consideration the community consultation that's been done recently. So we don't have any final plans on those yet, but council officers have been working closely with the LXRP team, and that community consultation will really form a strong part of what finally goes underneath there. So I'll leave it at that, Mayor. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councillor Kowalczyk. I'll go to the seconder, Councillor Moore, to speak next.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Kowalczyk, for withdrawing this item. I haven't got much more to add. Councillor Kowalczyk has just about covered most, but I did want to note that how at the Pakenham show on Saturday here locally in Pakenham here, the LXRP team had a tent and a discussion area where the community could come up and ask questions about what was happening and have their input into the group. And I thought it was a very positive action by the LXRP getting into the community for consultation and discussion about what's in it and what's not in it and what they can do and what they can't do. So it was a really good information platform for the LXRP group, and I thought it was pretty positive. I went there for a while and spoke to them myself for a while, so it was really enlightening. But I just wanted to highlight that in particular because I think it's not all bad, and it's maybe not all good either in some people's eyes. But this was something that looked very positive for myself. But thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Would any other councillors like to speak to this item? There being none, I'll go back to Councillor Kowalczyk to summarise.
Thank you, Mayor Springfield. Thank you, Councillor Moore, for your comments. As I mentioned earlier, the passing of this motion will allow the CEO to negotiate on behalf of Council and approve these facilities and infrastructure in negotiation with the LXRP project. And as you mentioned, Councillor Moore, it was very good to see the LXRP down at the Pakenham show, and I think we can separate the two projects given Pakenham East and the controversy around that and what this project is specifically talking about, which is the community space underneath the elevated rail, which I think is going to be a big win. Certainly I hear a lot from the community about what more can be done from a recreational perspective around the CBD. And because that area is, so old now and has been built up over such a long period of time, sometimes we're limited in what we can do. But given this project is going to move forward, we're going to have access to, potentially acres of space, a lot of square meterage of space that's going to go back to the community, which I think is a really, really, really good thing. So just to finish off here, Council will continue to work towards creating safe, accessible and vibrant public places under the future rail line that will help to revitalise Pakenham and improve community wellbeing and connectedness. Any future upgrades to infrastructure will need to meet the needs of the current and future community, represent value for money and align with Council's vision, endorsed policies and strategies. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Kowalczyk. We will now put this to a vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. I declare that carried. Thank you. Next item is 6.3.1, Open Airs Fires, Local Law 20, withdrawn by Councillor Owen. And Councillor Owen, you have a motion that differs from the officer's recommendation. Can you please present that for us?
Thank you, Mayor. I move the following alternate motion. The Council amend the proposed Local Law 20, Open Air Fires Local Law version 4.10, to substitute the Beaconsfield detail map, page 34, with a map labelled Attachment BO-1, to amend the zoning of properties to the north of Home Park Road in Beaconsfield and to amend the commencement date. 2, the Council undertake further consultation regarding the amendment with affected persons in accordance with Section 73, subsection 6 of the Local Government Act. And 3, that the results of the consultation and the proposed local law be considered further at a future Council meeting. I move so.
Thank you. Councillor Owen, can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Kowalczyk. I'll now go back to the mover. Councillor Owen.
Mayor, thanks, Councillor Kowalczyk. And thank you, councillors. I'm putting this proposed motion because I have concerns regarding the map for Beaconsfield. Obviously, this item was deferred from last month's council meeting because there was errors in the mapping that was in the report. So that's been amended. That's before us now. But seeing the mapping in Beaconsfield, I've got concerns. After considering a number of submissions from the Beaconsfield area. So it relates to Home Park. In the current mapping in the proposed local law, it has 9 properties on the north side of Home Park being in the urban and township zone, which is basically a no-burn area unless you get a permit. Traditionally, this area of Beaconsfield has always been able to burn. It's a unique properties, larger acreage, and they raise concern regarding the proposed local law. So I'm asking for us to move the boundary to allow those northern properties on Home Park Road to be in the bushland and peri-urban zone. Obviously, we're going to have some targeted consultation. This will come back before councillors for adoption of the local law. I understand before the end of the financial year, which will allow this new local law to be enacted at a logical date of 1st of July. So I think that's in line with people's expectations. When we do get to the point, if this motion is passed, when we do get to the point to adopt the local law, I'll speak extensively regarding the changes and the submissions in detail. But at this stage, I'm moving it to be deferred for that consultation to occur in Beaconsfield. It is an anomaly. This area of Beaconsfield is in the green wedge. Other examples of similar sort of properties on the periphery of the urban are treated as such And so this is an anomaly that they're not allowed to burn. So I think it should be reflective of their zoning, green wedge, reflective of the vegetation on these blocks. So I welcome this to go back to the community to get their feedback and for then us to consider this local law and then adoption. So I move so. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Owen. I'll go to Councillor Kowaczyk to speak next.
Thank you, Mayor Springfield. Thanks, Councillor Owen. And I do also want to pay mention to Councillor Owen for the way he's put forward this alternative motion. And I think it's well detailed why these changes are needed. Also, as the local ward councillor, I put good stock in what he said as to why these changes are needed regarding the mapping over parts of Beaconsfield. It's important for our community to note that outside of the changes to the mapping, this is, from my perspective, simply more of a deferral. And so further debate can be had when this comes back to council once these changes have been made, if we need to do that. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Kowaczyk. Would any other councillors like to speak to this item? Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Mayor. I agree with Councillor Owen on this amendment. I think it's very wise to include that area into the bushland and peri-urban zone. We've got a lot of properties that are right on the boundary of this mapping, and it becomes a very political, emotional position where this line of these maps go. Not just in Upper Beak or Beaconsfield as it is, it's on all sorts of areas. It's in the Bunyip area as well, and Garfield and all the places that are surrounded by our beautiful bushland that are subject to wildfires. So we've got to have an open mind in these. I know we're not going to talk about the policy, we're talking about this particular item, and that's all I'm going to get to. But I know that we have, I'm not sure whether the community understand how much we've been through as councillors to discuss, look at the items that come up from our community, and we're listening. We are listening to what the needs of our community are. So I totally agree that this be put up as an amendment to the local law policy, and I look forward to the debate and discussion of the full policy when it comes to the council table. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Do I have any other councillors that would like to speak to this item? There being none, I'll go back to Councillor Owen to summarise.
Yeah, sorry, I keep pressing the button. I don't need to. But yeah, thanks, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Moore and Councillor Kowaczyk, for your comments and support. I really appreciate it. So yes, I look forward to getting the feedback. When we do talk about the local law in detail, I definitely want to address those fringe properties that are within the urban growth corridor. I think that's a different story to those outside the urban growth corridor, which Home Park, the north of Home Park, is. So thank you, councillors. I seek your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Owen. I will now put this to a vote. All councillors in favour, please raise your hands. I declare the item carried. Thank you. Moving along, next item is item 6.4.1, supply and implementation of SaaS-based financial management system, tender C2021-025, withdrawn by Councillor Davies. Councillor Davies to move.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that Council accepts the tender submitted by Technology One Limited for supply and implementation of a SaaS-based financial management system, specifically implementation fees, $463,327, to ongoing operational fees as determined within operational budgetary constraints for years 2 to 5 of $618,635 per annum, increased each year in line with CPI, and that 3 for a period of 5 years plus 3 optional extensions of 2 years each at the sole discretion of Council. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Davies. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Ross. Councillor Davies, you can speak to this item first.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Ross, for seconding the motion. Councillors, Cardinia Shire Council currently uses Technology One financial management software, and this has been in production on site and hosted on premise for approximately 15 years. This current software will not be supported past 2024, which will result in Council no longer having access to the upgrades, fixes and patches associated with the software. The end-of-life process commenced on 1 October 2022, with only limited legislative changes being supported for only another 12 months. Significantly, the current finance software will not be able to provide the level of technology support to enable adequate management and reporting. The requirements under the Local Government Act 2020, specifically Part 4, will no longer be able to be met in relation to 10-year financial plans, budget management and asset management. So prompt action was required. As such, council officers issued a request for tender on 22 May 2021 seeking currently marketed software solutions to provide enterprise financial management capability to replace the existing financial management and supply invoice processing systems. 3 leading software options were shortlisted, of which a recommended tenderer software was deemed to best meet requirements and represent value for money in comparison to other software. I have reviewed the tender evaluation report and am confident in the council officer assessment that the software chosen is deemed best to meet requirements, represent value for money in comparison to other software, and offers a reduced risk profile due to the feedback from reference sites. Council, I seek your endorsement tonight to endorse the award of the tender. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Davies. I'll go to the seconder, Councillor Ross, to speak next.
Nothing further, thanks, Mayor.
Are there any other councillors that would like to speak to this item? There being none, I'll return to the mover, Councillor Davies, to summarise. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Ross, for your initial support. The recommended tender provides a solution that delivers enterprise-wide control and integration of financial information essential to strategic decision-making. It will provide powers to track, monitor, control, analyse and report on any information within the general ledger, specific organisational projects or procurement exercises. This is a targeted and necessary investment. And as such, I move that Council adopts the officer recommendations as listed. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Davies. I'll now put this to a vote. All councillors in favour, please raise your hand. I declare the item carried. Thank you. Next up is item 6.4.2, Princess Highway intersection upgrades in Officer, withdrawn by Councillor Davies. Councillor Davies to move.
Thank you, Mayor. I move, as per the Council Officer recommendations, that Council accept the following tenders submitted by Negri Contractors Proprietary Limited, subject to additional federal government funding for A, Contract 21-034, Princess Highway, Bayview Road intersection, $8,759,611.49 exclusive of GST. And B, Contract 21-036, Princess Highway, Station Street, Tiffendale Road intersection, $7,403,519.83 excluding GST. And secondly, advise the remaining tenderers accordingly.
Thank you, Councillor Davies. Can I have a seconder? And I have Councillor Owen. Thank you. Councillor Davies to speak to this item first.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Owen, for seconding the motion. I propose to briefly discuss the contract award for the Bayview Road and Tiffendale Road intersection upgrades along Princess Highway. This item was originally withdrawn for discussion by the Office Award Councillor, our Deputy Mayor, Councillor Tammy Radford. However, due to illness, she is the last-minute apology tonight, so I have withdrawn this on her behalf. As is also noted in the Major Projects Report, 8 key intersections along the Princess Highway have been identified for improvement projects. The tenders for consideration tonight will provide for the construction work for projects 3 and 4 on the list. These are the Bayview Road and the Tiffendale Road intersection upgrades. These follow the successful completion of the O'Neill Road and Glisman Road intersections in 2021. The cost of the delivery of all 8 of the Princess Highway projects are being funded 50-50 by Council and the Federal Government, with total contributions of $17.8 million each. This is a significant investment, both financially and in council officer resourcing, as it's council's engineers that are delivering the work. In terms of the specifics of these project scopes, the Bayview Road intersection upgrade will convert a present unsignalised T intersection into a fully signalised crossroad intersection with a new Southern Road connection into Pioneer Way. And at the Tiffendale Road, the intersection upgrade will increase the capacity by adding additional through lanes and turning lanes on the Princess Highway and on Tiffendale Road. Both projects will be connected by improved pedestrian and cyclist pathways and will include alterations to the existing car parking arrangements, of which will be subject to community consultation. Most significantly, Council's award of these contracts is subject to confirmation of the federal government matching Council's 50-50 contribution, and delegation is being provided to our CEO, Ms Jeffs, to award the contracts as soon as the external funding is confirmed. This action will fast-track the award of the contract and project commencement. I do note that it is a significant expenditure, but I am confident that the tender evaluation and procurement process has been achieved in accordance with policy to provide best value in procurement process. And ultimately, as we're all road users and all travel through here, improved traffic movement is a win to absolutely everybody who lives, works and plays or does recreation within Cardinia Shire. So councillors, tonight I'll seek your vote to proceed with the authorisation and delegation of the two tenders as per the report. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Davies. I will go to the seconder, Councillor Owen, to speak next.
Thanks, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Davies, for really explaining the project very well in detail. I also want to note that Councillor Radford would have loved to talk to this item, but it is very exciting. As an old officer boy who was round when we had one school in Officer that had 100 students, it's amazing to see Officer grow, but these two intersections are well and truly needed. For instance, Tiffendale Road's got 3 schools in it. Bayview Road's got 1 at the moment, and anyone who goes there between 8 and 9:30 probably, and then 2:30 to 4 in the afternoons know that this is definitely needed. School traffic is bedlam, very dangerous at Bayview Road. These intersections need to be upgraded. So it is great news that these intersections are going to be upgraded. Thanks to the Australian Government for their contribution. We do hope that additional funds do come our way so we can get on with this. But most importantly as well, we're going to see hopefully a new north-south road from Tiffendale, from Princess Highway to Officer South Road. I'll get that right. Sorry, got all these roads in my head a bit mixed up. But very important to go over the Gilbert grassland. That will provide removing a crossing as well, which the government is planning to remove Station Street, but hopefully the government can commit to that new road in the future. But this intersection will be make sure that that road can be accommodated. So very good news. I look forward to these being constructed, because O'Neill Road and Glissman Road has been very, very successful and made much more safer because of these upgrades. So let's do it in Officer as well. So thank you. I totally support this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Owen. I'll go to Councillor Moore to speak next.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, Councillor Owen just took my charge there, but because I'm just going to say that O'Neill Road, what has made a difference, O'Neill Road and Glissman Road has made so much difference to their coming out of Beaconsfield, particularly at those school hours. It's an amazing difference. So I just know what difference it's going to make to Station Street and Bayview Road. And the biggest thing about Bayview Road is the drainage issue there. The drainage issue is just really, really pretty bad, and we're doing major drainage works at that intersection because it's the lowest point in Officer where it drops off. And if it rains, if you have a shower in Officer, it floods at that particular point and it blocks the road. And it causes a lot of traffic hazards along that particular point. So just to eliminate that, I know the Facebook feedback on that particular intersection when it rains is just unbelievable. So it's going to be a fantastic result for our community. What a great outcome! And as Officer develops and the population increases, these intersections need to be upgraded. And without the funding from the Australian Government, these probably wouldn't have happened for a lot longer. They would have taken a lot longer to get down to place. So I want to thank them as well, because it frees up funding we do for other things within our council other than these particular intersections that need as well. So it's a win-win thing. So I think it's a great outcome, Mayor. And thank you, Councillor Davies, for withdrawing this on behalf of Councillor Radford. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Would any other councillors like to speak to this item? Before I go back to the mover, I'll just add that everything that everyone else has spoken to, it is a fantastic result to see these intersections upgraded. It's going to be a wonderful game changer for people that commute through Officer regularly, just as it has been a massive game changer for Beaconsfield that you pointed out. So again, our thanks on behalf of the community for the federal funding that's gone towards delivering this, because it would not have happened otherwise. And it is a great result for our community now and long term into the future. Just to see, government recognise that they need to spend on this infrastructure to keep up with the growth of our massive growth expenditure that we're experiencing here in Cardinia Shire. So it's going to be wonderful to see. Really happy to see some shovels in the ground soon once this proceeds. So thank you for your words, councillors. I'll now go back to Councillor Davies to summarise. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor, and thank you to Councillors Owen and Councillor Moore for sharing your feedback on the congestion, the safety and the drainage issues. I'm 100% in agreement that these intersection upgrades will be hugely beneficial for our community. I know that Councillor Radford, who is a Timbertop resident and a proud Officer Ward councillor, had hoped to withdraw this tonight, and I do hope that Council resolves to award the tenders. I would like to confirm thanks to the federal government for the 50% contribution. So, councillors, I confirm that I seek tonight for Council's endorsement of the officer recommendations for the award of the tenders as listed. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Davies. I'll now put this to a vote. All councillors in favour, please raise your hand. I declare the item carried. Thank you. Next up is item 6.5.1, Major Projects Report, withdrawn by Councillor Owen. Councillor Owen to move.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that Council note this report.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Davies. Councillor Owen to speak to this item first.
Thanks, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Davies. As part of the reporting process to Council, this monthly report provides an update for the status of major projects in progress. Each councillor loves this report and we like talking to it. It usually goes for about 20 minutes, this item, but I'll try to be brief. But it's a great opportunity for councillors to talk about projects, particularly maybe in their ward. But the Upper Beaconsfield Rec Reserve public toilet, everyone likes a new public toilet. So it's good to see that the Rec Reserve is getting one. The old one was an old brick one, very dungy, if I can say that, and definitely well and truly needed for an upgrade. So that's about to be open, if it hasn't been already, but it's just being finalised. So that's really great. Thanks to the Australian Government. LL and Armitage roads that is progressing really well. I tried to go down there today, but obviously it was closed for the roadworks. But it's really good to see that very close to completion. The report says early April, but that's depending on weather and so forth. But that is going to be another alternative east-west route, particularly for those travelling between Officer and Beaconsfield. Really, really important. Moving on to a couple others. The Princess Highway shared paths. I know Councillor Radford talked about this last month, but it's really great to see this progressing and almost being finalised. It is expected to be completed in June 2022. Construction works are ongoing as weather and contractor COVID-19 regulations permit. So the construction of the shared path has been completed and we've seen that, but obviously at these intersections at Tiffendale Road and Station Street and Bayview Road, that's going to be completed there with the path and the pedestrian crossings. But we're waiting on the bridge, the 15-metre bridge at Officer Creek, which was awarded in 2021, currently under fabrication and is expected to be installed late this month or April. And also the Gumscrub Creek Bridge awarded, expected to be installed in April. So we're just waiting for these bridges to be completed, and then that will really complete this really important connection between Pakenham and Beaconsfield. And also some paths funded by the Australian Government, but it's definitely in our pedestrian and bicycle strategy, is the Tumac Valley Road footpath. And I went down there a couple of weeks ago and it's great to see. I saw lots of people using it. I spoke to a resident of Tumac Valley. who's been a resident for about 50 years on the path, and she was extremely happy. She was walking her dog. But the idea of this path is to really get the township of Pakenham residents to Brown Road, but we've just got one final missing piece, and that is linking Browns Road to the eastern end of the Aqueduct Trail. And I really hope we can get further funding from other governments to really finish that off. That will really complete that link. And we all know during COVID, that trail was being utilised massively. Traffic jams on Thulis Road, but it'll be great to have that connection so people can start from Pakenham, walk to the Aqueduct Trail. How good would that be? But it's really great. So thanks to the Australian Government and council officers. I also want to acknowledge the Tumac Valley Land Care group. I've been in talking with them for a number of weeks since work started. So there was a few issues there, but we've ironed them out. But I just want to thank the Land Care group for their passion for the vegetation and environment along the path. And I look forward to council working with them in the future. But that was really good. So that's all I have to say at the moment. So I'll move to other councillors. Thank you.
And thank you, Councillor Owen. I'll go to the seconder, Councillor Davies, to speak to this item next.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Owen, for providing a comprehensive review of the report. I would just briefly like to speak about three key projects within the Tumac Reserve, the Tumac Ward. Firstly, the Tumac Reserve, both the Northern Pavilion and the Southern Pavilion and Little Athletics and Baseball Facility have been two key major projects jointly funded by Council and the Federal Government. Both projects were expected to be complete by early April this year. However, the project has been impacted by COVID-19 restrictions delaying the schedule. As such, I am advised that the works are continuing and that at the baseball facility, the buildings are installed. But works on the Southern Pavilion structure is also underway. So I understand council officers are in regular contact with the user groups, and I know that my colleague Councillor Kowalczyk, who is a former member of the football club, has also been in regular contact with the reserve users, and I do wish to provide the community just with assurance that we will get there, and these much needed upgrades are hopefully going to provide benefit for some time to come. And secondly, Officer District Park. Cardinia Shire residents are eagerly looking forward to this park, and unfortunately the project hasn't yet commenced. Two grants Council was very confident of attracting were actually unsuccessful last year. At the park, the ultimate design, which has been developed through thorough community consultation, includes a skate park, walking tracks, a downhill mountain board track, parkour, fitness, cafe and a car park, and a dog park, fully fenced. So currently tender documentation is being finalised with the project to be tendered in May 2022. This will include a revised Stage 1 scope as the component of this tender. I look forward to the release of the scope and look forward to work hopefully finally getting started. And I do want to thank the community for their patience. Unfortunately, projects don't always go smoothly as desired, but I know that officers are working very hard to make this park a reality. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Davies. Do I have any other councillors who would like to speak to this? Councillor Ross.
Thank you, Mayor. Just one project that's dear to my heart that I know has come for a long time in IYU Recreational Reserve. We have an athletics track, and the sub base is being put in at the moment. A lot of topsoil around the area. It's down near Camp COVID, so if anyone knows where that is down there, we call it Camp COVID because I drive past it about 10 times a day, and you see all the people lined up. Hopefully there's not that many people having to line up there at the moment. And that's a really exciting project because I know the athletics club have been waiting so long to upgrade their facility, which is a grass facility anyone knows in Tumac. And it pretty much probably looks like it did 40 years ago. So very excited for them and anyone else in the schools in the local area who won't need to travel back towards Cranbourne or into Melbourne to use a synthetic athletics track, to be able to use it for their schools. So that's one exciting project. I must add just something a little bit of a smile, but I won't give any names. Councillor Rowan didn't add, before I got on council, that toilet block at Upper Beaconsfield has a rather unique history to it. When it was first built, the Mayor of the day only opened one thing for the whole year, and the only thing he opened was that toilet block. And anyone who knows, there's actually a plaque on there where where his name was on that toilet block. I'm just wondering, Councillor Owen, is someone going to open that, put a new plaque on it?
Let's open it, I think.
They're just going to open it.
Officially open the door.
No worries. Anyway,
No comment.
No plaque.
I must say, when I first got on council, we went on a trip around in a bus to have a look at everything, and it was actually commented at the time we pulled up, and they said, you better check out the plaque on the toilet block. Anyway, I think it's great because at the time, obviously, it was really important up there that they actually got one, and it's good to see that it's being actually upgraded, and it's good to see that we actually put them in elsewhere, like at the start of Park Run down there, which is excellent that it's down there, and hopefully we'll see more of these amenities put in the local area. As people use the pathways a whole lot more, and they're a lot more inviting than what they used to be years ago, the pathways and locals use them regularly, so why wouldn't you put in some amenities for them to make their journey a little bit nicer? Anyway, that's all. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. Would any other councillors like to speak to this item? Councillor Cameron.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to mention McGregor, Soldiers and Hobson's Roads upgrades. The construction of these roads in Pakenham includes pavement, curb and channel and underground drainage works. The project's fully funded by council and the contract has been awarded with a 20-week construction program. The locals will be absolutely joyous when this gets underway. The Mayor and I were on site to let the community know that the work was about to begin. It's going to start late March and they're going to use a new recycled glass and crushed rock product using 1,500 tonne of recycled glass in the pavement. So it'll be wonderful for the Ruthdale community when this project's finished. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Would any other councillors like to speak to this item? There being none, I'll go back to Councillor Owen to summarise.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Thank you all councillors for your contribution. I just want to add regarding McGregor Road to Councillor Cameron. Definitely over the years I've been contacted many times regarding that road. That is a strategic road and it will be heavily used as Pakenham continues to grow and Officer continues to grow, so it is well and truly needed. Also, it's been very dangerous. Dust is an issue and sight lines, etc., so definitely I look forward to that. And you know, when we had these discussions on which roads are going to be chosen, that was right up there because it is a strategic connector road going from sealed to sealed, so very, very important. So I move the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Owen. I'll now put this to a vote. All councillors in favour, please raise your hands. I declare the item carried. Thank you. That concludes discussion of the items withdrawn. Are there any matters listed in the agenda that any councillors may also wish to debate? There being none, can I have a mover, please, to adopt the officer's recommendations for the remaining items? And I note Councillor Moore, seconded by Councillor Kowalczyk. All those in favour, please raise your hands. I declare that carried. Thank you, councillors. Councillor reports. Councillors, are there any matters that you would like to report? Councillor Kowalczyk.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, it's been a busy period of time. The Saturday just gone, most councillors will know and the community will be well aware that we had the Pakenham show. So I just wanted to give a big thank you to the Young family and everyone involved really in bringing that fantastic show together. And after the last couple of years that we've had and all the local shows that we've had cancelled, it was really nice to see the community back out and enjoying the festivities. Recently, we also had Coffee with a Cop with my fellow councillors, Councillor Radford and Councillor Ryan, held at Pakenham Marketplace. really great chance for the community to reconnect with police, and council was there along with some members of the Orange Door Network, so it was really great to see those organisations back out in the community. VicPol also recently hosted an event I attended called the Pakenham CBD and Railway Precinct Safety Meeting. So that was just an online forum that provided an opportunity for shop traders to speak directly to local police, to give feedback in what they're seeing and what support they need. The attendees expressed their concerns and outlined issues that they're facing in the shopping hub. This was actually a really great event, and I know that it's going to be held monthly because the feedback that VicPol received, but also council, there was a couple of officers there who attended with me, so thank you for them giving up their time late at night. But that was really unique event where the shop traders could liaise direct with VicPol and sort of say, this is what we're seeing, this is what we need, and this is what we want VicPol to change. And to their credit, the local officers who attended that were more than willing to take that advice on board. We also recently had Clean Up Australia Day, which obviously I attended, was very excited to do so. It was great to see so many different groups registered within Cardinia Shire. I know Councillor Owen is also very passionate about Clean Up Australia Day, and I note that we had 8 more sites than we did last year. So thank you to our waste team for all their support of that fantastic event, and also to the residents who got out there and helped clean up Cardinia. Just a couple more to go. The Welcome to the Afghan Community event at the Pakenham Hall, which I attended with our Mayor, Councillor Jeff Springfield, was a really fantastic event and really showed how welcoming we can be as a multicultural community within Cardinia Shire. A lot of the people who attended that are recent refugees from Afghanistan. I think we all know what's happened there. So that was fantastic to see so many support services come out and offer support. There was a great speech from our Mayor, but also from Hafiz Meyer from VicPol, from the community engagement team at VicPol, who also has an Afghani background, and it was great to see him out representing both his Australian community and his Afghan community. And the reason I also wanted to highlight that, for those of you who don't know, today is actually Harmony Day, which signals the beginning of Harmony Week. This is an important recognition and celebration of Australia's cultural diversity. It promotes inclusiveness, respect, and a sense of belonging for everyone, regardless of cultural or linguistic background. So a really big day is Harmony Day. I know we're just coming off the back of COVID, and so some of the Harmony Day events that we've had in the past will not be the same. But I know that a lot of local schools are on board, Living Learning Pakenham's on board, and certainly council's doing their bit too. So just think it's important that we recognise that. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Kowalczyk. Do I have any other councillors with reports they'd like to? Councillor Owen.
Thanks, Mayor. I just want to report on a project that was complete, or almost completed, on the weekend, Elephant Rock Lookout. Our officers have been heavily involved in that. It's a grant that council got, and also its own funds through its budget, $40,000 project to really improve the amenity of the lookout. Thanks to the Upper Beaconsfield Association, also the Upper Beaconsfield Beautification Group. They engaged Catherine Brandenberger to paint it as an elephant over the weekend, and if anyone's seen the photos, it looks amazing. So there just needs to be some final plantings, but I really appreciate and thank the Upper Beaconsfield Beautification Group, particularly Jenny Pritchard. She is so passionate about this project. We've talked about it, I reckon, for probably 8 years, and it's finally happened. So it's looking great. Hopefully it stays in a good condition and people respect that site and don't use it for antisocial or just damage and illegal dumping of rubbish. So it looks great. So well done to them. Just want to acknowledge the passing of Lynette Lamaris, an Upper Beaconsfield lady. She was part of the Reunion CWA, also was a massive fundraiser for the Cancer Council. So I just want to acknowledge, I knew Lynette very well and she was an amazing person in the Upper Beaconsfield and wider community. Thank you, Councillor Kowalczyk, for talking about Clean Up Australia Day. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it this year. I was in isolation, but my thoughts were with everyone involved. Great to see Melbourne Water engaging with those interested regarding the Beaconsfield Reservoir. They had an online session, I think a week and a half ago, and it was great to see them engaging with the community regarding their plans regarding the Beaconsfield Reservoir, so that was good. I attended the Mount Shamrock Quarry meeting. I'm now council's delegate, and it was great to have a conversation about the end of life for that quarry. And I think, we need to start having a conversation regarding what that is going to be looking like at the end of its life. And obviously, Wholesome has to lead that conversation as well, but there is, we don't know exactly when, but now a discussion is about to start regarding that. So obviously we've got several policies, Council, we need to consider Mount Shamrock going forward. And finally, there was a meeting in the Beaconsfield shopping precinct. Unfortunately, the time changed and I couldn't make the meeting, but it was between Aldi, Woolworths and council officers. Anyone who shops there knows it's frustrating to drive through. You really risk your life almost. It is privately owned land. It's not council, and I've received over many years complaints on that. But it was great to see that finally we got Aldi and Woolworths in a meeting on site where council outlined suggested changes. So they're going to come back to council, but it seemed like there was a willingness to do something in this space. So, as I say to residents who contact me about this, we just have an advocacy role and we can provide that professional advice regarding what's required. So there's hope there that we may see some improvements on that private property. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Owen. Councillors, are there any other council matters to report? Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Mayor. And I understand the situation there. I do shop in Beaconsfield, even though I live in Narnagoon North, I realise. But I park out on the road. That's how I think the car parking is. It's fantastic. I can't get my F100 in there. But so I can understand, and I really look forward to some positive changes if they are there, Councillor. I know you've been advocating for this for many, many years, and I congratulate you to get something done. Back to where I was. Tumac horse trials we had on the 6th of March. It was a fantastic event at the Tumac area up there, which is fantastic. It was what a great event. You couldn't move there for horses. Understandably, you would, but it was very, very busy. They come from all over Australia to come to this cross country event, and they have the steeple jumping inside the venue, and it was a really great event. Well done to the committee there that organised this, because they run it on a very fine line, and it's really great to see them get this organised. That's just one event that was I attended. There's a couple of events that are coming up, Mayor, if I may bring them up to advertise them. One is on this weekend. It's the Bunyip Show at the Bunyip Rec Reserve, which is a fantastic agricultural show to have on the back of the Pakenham show last weekend. The Bunyip Show's on this weekend on the Sunday from about 9 o'clock on. And it's a great event to attend. I'll be there, Mayor, and you can come up with me and visit if you want. But I know they've got a speaking corner there from council, which is going to be fantastic to have there. So I don't know whether I'll be speaking, but maybe that's the right position for me, Mr. Mayor. And after that, the weekend after that, we have the fantastic Harewood Festival at the beautiful property on the boundary of Cardinia, Shire and Casey at Turin, right on the boundary. This heritage property is just something to see, and if you haven't been to Harewood, it's a really great festival to go and see, just to see this beautiful property, to go and have a look. Once a year they have this, it's like a fundraiser there for the Cooyup auxiliary to the hospital there in Cooyup. So it's a great event, and I'm sure Councillor Cadman will be there, and I'll be there with wife Sue. So that's on the 3rd of April. So that's another event, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Do any other councillors have matters they wish to report on? There being none, we'll move along with the agenda. Next up is community question time, and we don't have any questions received for tonight's meeting. So that's about the first, I think, in my time of holding meetings here. But I think we've answered all the questions the community needed for this month, so that's fantastic to hear. So given that there's no questions at community question time, that concludes tonight's meeting. So thank you all for your interest and for attending, and I now declare the meeting closed. Thank you.